All right, when you come in, anytime I got papers, as I mentioned, back there on that desk, please pick them up. You're probably going to get things a couple times a week. If there's nothing back there, you don't have to worry about grabbing any, documents, handouts, or anything like that. Also, at the front of the board, I'll put a little note up here as to what I want you to do. Generally, it's going to be something pretty simple. Today is more of a busy clerical stuff, filling out documents. Tomorrow it'll say something like open your notebook, start a new notes section, or get a piece of paper if you need to have something to write with. Around the room, mentions you the handouts are back there. Behind Alex is where there's line paper. If tomorrow you don't have a notebook, boom, we got it right there. It's underneath Hawaii and Alaska. Pencil sharpeners on a door. Don't ask me why. You'll learn to deal with it. And I keep test if you can sharpen your pencil. I don't know, Andrew, if you can sharpen your pencil. I get mechanical. And then over here by Ellie on the board, also similar to what's on your weekly syllabus, just a rundown of assignments. Tomorrow you'll see some things hanging on the sideboard because any handouts that I gave out the day before, I put over there for a couple days. So if you are absent on a day and you see something over there that you don't have, probably be a good idea to come over and pick it up. Very different from how it worked last year. It's nuts. If you're done with your info sheet, you can pass that stuff on down. So you can pass it down to Ellie or Danielle, Elise, back row. We'll go all the way around over the page. And then I'll come around and pick them up. If you're still filling it out, hold on to it. I'll get it from you later on in the period. It's not going to be a big deal. All right, beginning of every week, you get one of these things. Just basically a rundown schedule of what's going to be happening. It's never set in stone. There could be some things that change from time to time, but it gives you an idea as to what's going on. Argumentation, there's not going to be a notebook check or anything like that where you have to prove to me you have all the weekly syllabi together in the proper order and whatnot. But a lot of the things that happen in this class, it tends to be more project-based, especially as we get 7, 8, 9 weeks into the semester. So knowing the due dates and things like that are going to be pretty important for you. So the Remind app helps, the weekly syllabus helps, and the notebook probably a good idea to keep that in front. Notebook-wise, you probably will want to get a 3-ring binder. You can have folders with pockets and things like that, but the first few weeks, it does tend to get a little note-heavy, handouts, vocabulary, stuff like that, so we can go over all the basic things before we get to the actual speaking assignment. So keeping things organized, generally helps then early on. But if you have a spiral notebook or you're using a loose leaf paper, you have SpongeBob or Patrick on the front of your papers, I don't care. Makes no difference. I'm not going to be collecting it from you or anything like that. For this week, just so you can see what's going on, we are going to get a little bit note heavy early on with tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday going over some basic stuff. Probably for the first, I'd say, 6 or 7 weeks, it's going to be pretty typical to have some kind of reading check or quiz on a Friday. So this week, this Friday, you have a 35-point day. And the way that works out, you have a reading check quiz for the short story The Lottery, and then also the article Why Don't We Complain? And that's in the packet that you received. It says The Lottery, Shirley Jackson up at the top. Lottery is a short story, so it's fictional account. It's written in, I believe it's 1946. Within that same packet, about halfway through, is where you have then the article by William Buckley, Why Don't We Complain, where he basically wonders, why don't we complain? Good job, so figuring out. It's like civil disobedience, but not as boring. So you're going to read those 2 things for Friday. I'm not going to talk about them between now and Friday. It's simply just read it for Friday. So on Friday, you're going to have a 10-point reading check quiz, 5 questions on the lottery, 5 questions on the article, and they're all going to be multiple choice. You also then picked up a value homework assignment where you see the numbers up at the top. This is related to what's going on in the lottery, and why don't we complain as well. But you don't have to read the articles first to fill this out. All I want you to do is to explain what are your values, which doesn't necessarily mean morals, but what are things that you value. Could be abstract, could be concrete. So abstract, might be loyalty, friendship, education, religion, freedom. It could be concrete things. I value my shoes. They're really nice. I value family. You value money, whatever the case. Not judging you based on what you put as your values, but just what are 5 things that you value. They don't have to go in any particular order. So number 1 doesn't have to be the most important, and number 5 still important, but not quite at the top, because you might not necessarily think of them in any particular order. What you also then need to do is find someone else to share their values with you. All that I ask is that it's a real person, alive, breathing. The person is at least 5, for those of you with little cousins or you babysit and siblings and things like that. No pets, no stuffed animals, pet rocks, real, honest to goodness people. Don't make up that you talk to Doug or Sally and then you just think of things and write them down. Talk to somebody. I think you can at least find that out. They don't have to be within this class. They can be taking argumentation second period. They don't have to be in argumentation. You might sit next to them in homeroom, study hall, cafeteria. They don't have to be in school. It can be a parent, grandparent, sibling, co-worker, random person while Caitlin is trying to find her bus. Doesn't matter. But you'll put down your 5 values, they'll put down 5 values, and then you'll answer a few questions about why they might be similar, why they might be different, how you account for this, things along those lines. Stay away from yes and no. Are there any values that are similar, or which values appear on both lists? If Andrew puts down trust and I put down friendship, no, they're not the same word, but there's enough similarity between the two that I think you could still put that down. If someone puts down education and you put down, future employment, you could still certainly argue that those things are related. So try to find what some connections would be. Now, someone might go money, shoes, clothes, diamond rings, expensive cars, and that's nowhere near what you have on your list. Hey, that's fine. You don't have to try to make the round peg fit in the square hole, but if you do see some basis of a similarity, make note of that. So you filling out the front side of this is going to be 10 points. I'm collecting this on Friday. On the back side, you see a whole bunch of lines, and people get nervous. You're not writing an essay, but you are answering short answer questions about the reading assignment, the lottery. And for that one, you do need to read the short story. If Alex writes down, your thoughts on the lottery, I think it's pretty stupid that people spend $10 to get a Powerball ticket and trying to win $400 million because it's not going to happen. I know he did not read the short story. So make sure what you're writing responds to that passage. It asks for you to write 10 sentences. Write 10 meaningful sentences. If you write 7 meaningful sentences, you're going to get a 7 out of 10. If your first sentence is, I read the short story of the lottery, period, it was interesting, period, I'm not counting those until you start getting into answering it. So, not looking for an essay by any means, but just make sure you're responding to what the question is asking you to do. So, you get a 10-point assignment for the reading check quiz, you get a 20-point assignment for the homework, and then the last 5 points come from your larger syllabus, which we'll take a look at here in a little bit. The last page is a parental guardian signature sheet. You bring that in by Friday, you get the 5 points. So I'm not going to guarantee everyone will have a 35 out of 35, but I think by Friday we should be pretty good so far as having some points accumulated. If before Friday you get the syllabus signature taken care of, you can give that to me on tomorrow, Thursday. It makes no difference. Any questions about what you have to do for Friday? Fill out the value sheet, read the 2 checks, respond to the lottery one. There'll be a reading check quiz, 5 questions on each one. Not meant to try to stump you. Not going to use handout or notes or quiz or anything like that. Okay. Other packet then you have is your course syllabus. So for today, it's basically making sure we're pretty good as to how everything within the course operates, runs. The grading procedure is no different than any other class. The scale looks the same. With it being a CHS class, you do get a 0.4 bump on your GPA, so your A 4.0 becomes a 4.4, your B 3.0 becomes a 3.4. That's pretty tough. We'll hear the buses beep then for the rest of the period. If you don't do any work, it's still a 0. You don't get that 0.4. You're hearing the same thing all over again. Good point. For anybody, is this your first CHS class? Oh boy. All right, the way this works, you have the opportunity to get CHS credit through, we go through University of Pittsburgh for this class. I think we have Seton Hill, Carlo, maybe even Chatham, a couple other universities. This one goes through Pitt. You're under no obligation to sign up for CHS credit. You certainly can, and all things being equal, I think it's a good idea, but you're not required to. I don't get gift cards and steak knives for the more people that I send to the University of Pittsburgh. If Pitt is on your definite radar where you're looking for college after high school, then this makes a lot of sense. Basically what happens is for the $235 registration fee, you become a student at Pitt. So not only do you get the credits, which would be 3 credits, but you also get the grade point average. So if Andrew pulls out a miracle, gets a 98% A, he goes to Pitt, you have 3 credits, and you're a 4.0 student. If you don't go to Pitt, you can still possibly, cannot guarantee it, you can still possibly potentially get the credits to transfer. But that's more on a case-by-case basis. It's not a secret list of schools where Duke will take it, Slippery Rock, Edinburgh, Carlo, Penn State. So if that's something that's also on your radar, it'd be a good idea to look into those schools that you're interested in and just ask them, will you accept it's communication and rhetoric, we can go over that stuff later, but will you accept those credits? The big change, not change, but difference between this and AP, if you pass AP exams, you can get the credit, but you don't get the grade. If you do go to Pitt, the grade follows you. On the flip side, you sign up, you register, you get a D, the D goes along with you unless you withdraw from the class. If you withdraw, they'll take the class off your transcript, but you do not get your $235 back. A reason sometimes people will not register for CHS is it costs money, $235. It's a good deal because a 3-credit class at Pitt is around $2,000, so you're paying about 10%, 15% of the price, but it's still $235. Pitt does have some scholarships available based on need. So if money would be an issue, talk to me before, after class, some point in the day. Let me know. I can set you up with the enrollment, the forms to request that money. Can't guarantee that it happens, but I think the last 3 years I've had at least 1 or 2 people every year get the financial aid. So if that is a concern, talk to me and we can figure out if that would work. But you don't get graded differently by signing up for the CHS class. This is not like business, calc, or chemistry where you have to take a Pitt lab or a Pitt test. We're not going to take field trips to all, do a big speech in front of the Pitt folks like you might for some other CHS classes. So whether you sign up or not, it's the same thing in here. You just do get the opportunity for that Pitt credit. You don't have to decide right now if you want to do it or not. The last page of your syllabus signature does ask parent, guardian, do you think you'd be interested in your child signing up? They can mark no and change their name to yes. You can mark yes and decide later on you don't want to do it. About mid-September, I think I put the 16th, the 23rd is when you'd be returning forms to me if you do sign up. But something to think about it. Financially, compared to what it would cost at Pitt, it's a pretty good deal, but again, that's your call as to whether you want to do it. Any questions about how that stuff works? Okay. Couple things, and going on to the next page. The main types of assignments that we do throughout the course of the year, I have on here, and going on to the next page a little bit. Beginning of the year, it's going to be a little bit more about these. Homework, small assignment, reading, and quizzes. I'd say about the first 6-7 weeks, we tend to go over a lot of basic ideas. Tomorrow we'll start notes to introduction to rhetoric, then we'll take a look at how to win a debate. We got logical fallacies to take a look at, types of eloquence and whatnot. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be a little dry and boring for the first few weeks because we have to go over that main stuff. So there's kind of quizzes, reading assignments that go along with those. As we learn those things and get better at them, then week 7, 8, 9, that's when the larger speaking assignments start to happen. So the way the course goes for the first month, really through September, is not indicative of the way that it ends up being. But we have to make sure we take care of that basic stuff before we move on to the other things. A big component of what we do certainly will be speaking assignments, and you will get involved with those as soon as probably next week when we'll do some SPAR debates. SPAR debates stand for spontaneous arguments, so we'll just pull names out of a hat. Alex, you're debating Benji. You're going to argue which is better, Pringles or Doritos, that kind of thing. We're not going to be debating healthcare reform, fixing the educational system, deficit reduction. Would you vote for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump? Those types of things we'll work about later on in the semester. But early on, hopefully by next week, we get everyone up here speaking so at least you kind of get comfortable with the layout, speaking in front of other folks. As we go on through the semester, then we'll do formal 3-minute speeches, 5-minute, 7-minute kind of things. But I'm not worried about that, yet at this point. A lot of the things that you do get to pick topics, whether it's within certain parameters or just simply what you want to do. Student Congress, a lot of people look at it being a highlight. That's when you introduce some kind of legislation. So you can introduce whatever kind of bill, law that you want, and then you argue for it, defend it. People argue against it, but it gives you an opportunity to kind of defend your ideas. So hopefully by the end of the semester, even if you're not going into courtroom settings or things like that where we think of there being typical arguments, you're more comfortable speaking in front of people for college interviews, job interviews, just whatever the case may be. So speaking assignments will certainly make up large parts of what we do, but it's not going to be everything. There will be some writing pieces that take place. You'll have, I wouldn't call them essays, but you'll have short article analysis where you take a look at arguments that other people have crafted and explain how they go about doing it. We'll be having ongoing research throughout the course of the year. And then we do have a midterm exam. There's not a specific PIT exam that we have to do, but PIT requires that we have a test covering basic foundations of rhetoric. I do that midway through the semester and still kind of fresh in your mind. But again, no field trips to PIT to try to take a big PIT test there. I do try to get some field trips throughout the course of the semester where there might be some argument forums or debates taking place. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but that would be something that we might try to do, depending on what's available around the year. Any questions? Still don't know what bus you're going on. How'd you get here? So this all boils down to your fault.
No, actually, because on the pink card, you know how they sent you those bus cards?
You got up at 5.
It had the old bus number on this little cards that they send you.
By the end of the semester, you will effectively be able to argue why this is an atrocity and you'll get some changes done. And your experiences of walking home might be valuable evidence as to why. Good deal. When it does come to homework assignments and things like that, make sure you do have them filled in. When we get to writing assignments, we'll talk about turn it in and all that kind of stuff. Big thing for homework assignments or any really type of assignment, especially when it comes to 9th period, make sure you're here. If you are not here, make sure you see me, early in the day if you have like an early dismissal to drop off your stuff. But by you getting a weekly syllabus, and I'll show you tomorrow, you have an online link, you can know basically what's going on in the course at all times. So least favorite question is, did you do anything yesterday? Absolutely not. We just sat here and made fun of Andrew for 40 minutes. Generally, there is something that did occur. You have it with your weekly syllabus. You'll have it with the online calendar. So you should be able to kind of stay up to speed with everything that is happening. So make sure those resources you do check in. And of course, the Remind app would be something as well. With your speaking assignments, just so you are aware, I do have a thing about plagiarism on here, and certainly you can plagiarize with speeches as well. And I don't say this to scare anybody away by any means. You're not coming up here with prepared speeches. It's not that you're going to have a 4-page document and look at it and move your head like this and us never see your face. Part of speaking in front of people is making eye contact, gestures, communicating, interacting with the audience a little bit. That does not mean you have to memorize your speeches by any means, but you'll be coming up more with game plans, outlines, notes, and then conveying those ideas. So of course we'll do some practice with it, but if you're a person where you feel like you're going to have to read everything word for word, that's not going to be the way. Again, that doesn't mean I think you should drop the course. I think you'll be perfectly fine with it, but there might be a little bit of a feeling out process, before you feel completely comfortable with it. When we do get to speaking assignments, we'll plan ahead usually so Caitlin knows what day she'll be giving her speech. Kaylee will know what day she's giving her speech. If Caitlin says she's giving it next Wednesday, the expectation is you're going to be here next Wednesday. So again, I'm not saying come in with the plague or mono or anything like that, but for the most point, if you are going to commit to a day, expectation is you're going to be able to show up and be there for it. So daily procedures and all that kind of stuff, it's pretty basic compared to any other class. The main thing you need to have with you is going to be notebooks, something to write with, be prepared with. There's not a textbook that you have to worry about. Any reading assignments, I'll give them to you as handouts. If you don't have a notebook with you, of course, we already mentioned to you back there behind Alex's notebook paper, things like that. So, for example, tomorrow when you come in, it's going to tell you to get started with notes or have a section ready. Expectation is within the first couple of minutes, you've either opened up your notebook or you've grabbed the paper and back of them so we can get going with it. Right? But 500-page textbook does not exist. You don't have to worry about that whatsoever. Unless you want one. Here it is. Okay. You're wearing the same socks. I think Ryan has the same ones on too. Hopefully you can stand out a little bit. Then you do get a course schedule. Certainly this can kind of fluctuate from time to time, but the main thing you see is we start off looking at basic concepts with debate, which we'll start with tomorrow and move on through the other things. So be prepared for, note-type lecture things. At the same time, be prepared to participate. My least favorite thing is to hear my voice over and over and over like I am today. So if you have questions, make sure you ask them. We'll try to come up with some examples to make the concepts we go over a little bit more tangible, and you should be in pretty good shape, assuming you're able to make it home in one piece. Anyone in here live by you?
Sarah kind of does.
Sarah taking it myself.
No, I drive. I have a tennis match. I don't.
Go watch her play tennis, and then
Yeah.
she'll take you home.
We're
Problem
looking
solved.
at
You're
our
welcome.
student section is one big. It's our cup.
You'll build her self-esteem by taking an interest in her activities. You can rehash good times in 5th period English last year. You can make up good times and rehash them from 5th period English last year, and it'll be a good way. All right? All right, so Friday. Andrew, give me one thing you need to do for Friday.
Have that paper filled out.
What's that paper? There's a lot of papers.
This one.
What was one of my requirements for that paper? Don't make it up. Find a real person. How many sentences on the back? Be quick. Good. Nice job. Also, you got quiz, which would be 10 points, and then that other paper would be the syllabus signature. Bring that into me. Again, syllabus signature, if you have that in advance, you can certainly give it to me as early as tomorrow. Normally, we do not cut things off this early with 10 minutes to go, but I believe we're going to have a PA announcement coming up pretty soon with dismissal, so we'll be ready for that.